Thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm David D'Onofrio, CEO of White Gold Corp. We have Shawn Ryan, co-founder of White Gold Corp and our chief technical advisor. We recently released some new and very interesting data on our Bonanza property. This is something that Shawn has had in his portfolio for quite a long time, and something we're able to do a fair bit of work on this past season, and we're quite pleased with the results we have, and I think it's going to be a very exciting property to continue working on in this upcoming season. And we're able to take this opportunity to get into a little bit more detail what we've done and why we're so excited about the prospects of this particularly very interesting property that we have in our portfolio. So Shawn, I guess I'll turn over to you to give us maybe a little bit more background on the property and take us through some of this new data that we've recently compiled.
Okay, thanks, David. Here, this picture we're looking at is looking up, looking down actually, the Bonanza Creek, and this is the dredge number 4, where they were dredging, since basically the early, basically 1900s. I think they finished around the late 1960s. But the idea is that our project is actually right behind this dredge, and we have about 5 miles of the creek. So, like, it all started in, the Bonanza Creek is literally ground zero for the 1898 gold rush. And here's Dawson City on one side, on the left-hand side. And this is the famous 1898, but they actually found it in 96, but it launched the 1898 gold rush, and where all these guys started climbing the Chilkoot Pass. And the lower left is actually the guys mining on El Dorado Creek, or the Bonanza system. Basically, at the turn of the century, underground, they would put shafts to get down to the placer gold. And that's what's so unique about this is Bonanza Creek produced in excess of around 6 million ounces of placer gold. So that's a major gold system, even if it was a hard rock, and it's probably one of the largest placer gold systems on the planet. So here we are, Bonanza Creek. And the idea is that here's Dawson City up at the top end, top left-hand corner, and this is Bonanza Creek coming down. And we have another company to the south of us called Klondike Gold that's been actually outlining some resources and reserves basically on their Lone Star project. And this project was where they did find gold at the turn of the century. There was basically a small mine up there, and Klondike Gold's been slowly plugging away, and hopefully they'll come up with a resource this year. So we have 5 miles, 8 kilometers of this paralleling the famous Bonanza Creek. So the idea is we're close to town, and we're in basically elephant country for gold systems. So here we are looking down the Bonanza Creek, and Dawson City's up over here. And you can see where all the extensive placer gold that they've been working for the last 100 years, and they're actually still working it. And our property starts right around here and straddles the whole system, all the way out to about here. So why I staked it, and that was back in 2004 when I started watching, doing more of my research. And what happened was the government, the GSC, Geological Survey of Canada, flew an airborne survey through the Dawson district. And it was the first, recent one that was an extensive one with modern day techniques. And here you can see the Lone Star project, these showings up here in the magnetic background. And you can see how these guys on El Dorado Creek side are straddling this magnetic low. And you can see this magnetic low paralleling it, coming through, and you can actually see it intersects our project and keeps working its way up to the north. So with every gold system, major gold systems, structure is the key. And on this side of the project, or of the page, this is our Hunker project, King Solomon's Dome area, and that we'll probably be working again this summer. So we have a major structure, and that was the key to this. So now we're going to look up Bonanza Creek to the south. Here's our Lone Star. Here's the 6 million ounces that basically came down the creek systems. So this is what I'm getting at. With every major gold system, you have to have structure as the key. So now this is what the mag looks like. And now you could actually see, okay, if you were to hide, because we haven't really seen the sources of where this all came from, we could see there's something happening up here. but it wasn't the mother lode that produced all this placer gold. So there must be a few infusion zones, areas that the gold system's bleeding into the creek system somehow. But this is what's unique, is this structure is the key to potentially the gold that we're seeing here. And what it's kind of helping you tell is that it looks like it's a vertical structure. And this is, if you're to hide where the source of 6 million ounces of placer gold came from, it's not going to be a flat line system where it's daylighting. And that's what the original thought pattern was. They thought it was flat line thrusts that basically, produced, and it all got eroded. And this was what the model of for the last 20, 30 years is that all the gold is eroded and landed in the creek. But if that was the case and it was a flat line thrust fault system, you'd probably see pieces of remnants of the hard rock quartz vein systems in the hills with a bunch of VG. And we don't really see that. So somehow it's hiding, but this is what I'm getting at. It's lending it towards these vertical systems, these vertical fault systems. And now I'll show you a little bit more of the science. So here's the Placer Creek. You can see now that's Bonanza. You can see how this thrust, or this magnetic anomaly, is ripping through. And this in the middle here is actually ground zero, the discovery claim of the 1896 discovery of the gold rush. And this is where I'll show you some historical photos. This is where Grand Forks, they actually built a town there at the turn of the century. So we're right, this is, we're in the right part of the world here. So here's another piece of data, just to add more flavor to this. This is a gravity map. And what we're seeing here is a big gravity low. And here's the showings from the Lone Star in the El Dorado system. But you can see how it's, there's a definite gravity low system there. So now we're going to look at looking down, and you can see the gravity low Oriole right in here. You can see the Lone Star system, and you can see the stuff on the El Dorado side. And what I did is I made translucent, so you can see the magnetic structure breaking through and tapping into this gravity anomaly. And that's what I think is the most likely, a high probability the source is. It's coming from whatever this is, and it's probably a granite at depth. And this structure is tapping into that and bringing up the fluids to surface. So that was a model, and some of the Australians like this model, and basically, they were around in the early 2000s, and they were thinking the same thing. So this is what we're talking about, is we finally just did a nice soil program. It took a few years. I've owned the claim block for such a long time, and the idea was we only did a little bit of work over them years. And when we put it into white gold, we were focusing on the south down by the White and the JP Ross. But now we're moving this, this project through the basically our stages, step-by-step stages. And the idea is we went in and we did we did about over 3,000 soils. So that put it over the edge where we could get enough data to start seeing these patterns. And what it came out, and this is what we could see, is these nice, linear, distinct, like gold soil anomalies that were very, very, these are veins. That's what worked pretty well. Like, we haven't gone to look at them, but they appear quite well to be looking like these vein systems. And that's kind of what we were expecting to see. I thought we'd see more in a north-south structure following that magnetic anomaly that I'll show you here. But this is the classic, where if that's the first order structure, these are probably second order structures, which we get a lot of. That's where a lot of gold systems are found. And here's just to show you the arsenic. Basically, we have a little bit of arsenic, but what's kind of cool is some of it has arsenic. Like this one definitely has the arsenic, basically a hint with it. You can see this middle one does, but this guy up over here, it's basically has hardly any arsenic. So it's kind of interesting, like, that we have both styles, and that's what we had on the white, so it's not just gold and arsenic and antimony. Sometimes it's gold only, such as the golden saddle. So these are what we're actually going to be chasing. And just to show you, here's the Ridge Road Trail. Like, we're right actually on a road system that you can just drive up to here. So, and here's the main Bonanza Creek system. And this is where the dredge, my first photo in the picture, this is the dredge right in here. And you can see the soil anomaly comes up right behind the dredge. Like, it's kind of interesting. And that's what's so special about the Yukon, is that it's still like virgin country. Like here we are in 6 million ounces of placer, and nobody's actually ever really looked in the hills behind the dredge. And this is where Grand Forks was just down at the bottom of the page. So it was kind of, that's like all the historical prospectors all went south looking at that Lone Star and work in that area. So here's some magnetics, just to show that you can see the soil anomaly is following these magnetic structures. And here's that big mag low that's ripping up that I thought was, that's the primary structure. And this, on the right-hand side of the page, this is Matthias from Fault Rocks, did a structural analysis without actually looking at the soils. And he does his magic, because there are two different things. Structure is one thing, and geochemistry, soils is geochemistry. It's another science. So when he did his work, he mapped out basically this magnetic low as the Bonanza thrust fault system, or fault system. Well, he's got a thrust fault there. And the idea was he started mapping out these lineaments based on the mag and some LIDAR data that we had. And then we dropped our soils into his structural analysis. And lo and behold, you could see where his faults are. It's actually, our soils is lighting right up. So here you have two sciences. Look at this one, fault 7, working together, basically, matching up. And that's what's actually starting to give this thing some really good legs for an exploration potential play here, because these are real. And it's kind of cool. What's kind of cool is, again, here's Bonanza Creek. And remember at the beginning, I was saying that, these vertical structures, how do you hide 6 million ounces? So if you have these vein systems that are flowing into Bonanza Creek, like at this angle, instead of just parallel, like I thought originally, well, hence, this is how you're dumping in accumulations of 6 million ounces in this creek system. It's basically on these northwest fault systems. And we'll show you some more evidence of this, because the guys to the south of us, the Klondike Gold guys, they're actually on one of these. They're working these northwest faults on their Lone Star project also. So here's just to show the gold as a background. I just color coded it, gridded it off, and I dropped in Matthias's faults, and you can see how you're getting these nice systems, how it's matching up so well. So this will be a fun project to work, and the idea is that we're hoping to get into there a lot more this summer. And this is Grand Forks. This is just off south of our claims, just like about a kilometer away. And this is the intersection of Bonanza Creek and El Dorado. So we're literally right behind this photo, kind of where this photo is being taken from. And this was Grand Forks. They designed, they built this whole town basically based on the Klondike Gold Rush, because ground zero was right around in here. And that's where that structure is cutting across. So it's kind of cool. Like, there's a lot of history here to this district, or to this area. Here's some, they're working their claim. Like, this is back in the early 1900s. It's kind of cool. They're like seeing these old photos. So that's the kind of gist of basically the Bonanza soils that, finally took a few years to get enough soils to do this to see this picture. And this is what we're starting to see there, right in the heart of the Klondike Gold country. So here I just plugged into Google Earth some of our data that we've been working with. And the idea here is that, so this is here's Dawson City, here's Bonanza Creek. So here it is, here's 6 million ounces. And this is the upper El Dorado system, and this is the upper Bonanza system. And this is where Grand Forks was, right in this area. So here's our basically project, and here's our soil grid. So I'll zoom in, and you'll see the context now to the Klondike Gold guys. So now, and here's the Klondike Gold project. So this is what they're hoping to outline a resource this year on. This is the Lone Star zone, and there's their Stoddard zone. and that's following that magnetic low that originally I was showing you. And this is what's kind of interesting. When you actually zoom out and then come in and have a look at, you could actually see, oh, no, sorry, this actually what I have is arsenic on there. It's actually, and here's the gold zone. So the idea is that when you follow his, so here he is here, he's showing it's going northwest, and here's basically the northwest trend. So, you know, it's not too much arm waving to say that this is part of the Bonanza fault system that they mapped out on this side of the valley on Bonanza Creek, and it's jumping across to basically to our side of the project. But I think, see, he's got the standard zone here that's cutting through this magnetic low, and it's going to run this way, like right up. But the idea is that this Lone Star zone and along the Bonanza fault is this guy right here. So it's kind of so now when you zoom out and you kind of take a regional perspective, you could actually see what I'm getting at here. And here's Grand Forks that they're always, that's highlighted in Google. But the idea is that you could see that, yeah, this is probably an extension to the Lone Star system. So now it'll be interesting because they've been plugging a lot of holes in here, and that's what their goal is to try to come up with a resource here for the basically mid this, either the third quarter or the fourth quarter of this year. But so now that's what I'm kind of getting at is now you can see how these kind of vein systems kind of are working, and I'll show you, and then you can make it translucent. And the idea is that we can zoom right in, and this is what's kind of interesting. The first photo that I showed you at the beginning, here's the dredge right here. So that photo that we were originally looking at, when we look up, there's the gold anomaly kicking through right behind the dredge. So that's what I'm kind of getting at. This is, you know, this is basically a unique project because, like, there's, well, there is nowhere there a spot like there, like this, to find a creek that produced this much gold and they got a piece of ground next to it with all these gold anomalies ripping through is very, very, very unique. So it's kind of, so stay tuned. That's what we're basically going to start working on, probably from trenching to probing this because it's right off the road to gather some data. And we'll probably RAB drill this probably by September. And then the intent is to set up a diamond drill program here for 2022. So this is the Bonanza claims, and it's very unique, and it's sitting just outside of Dawson City. There it is here, Dawson. And here's the project, and here's the Lone Star. So welcome to the Yukon. We're basically still finding brand new gold systems in the Yukon. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Shawn. That was excellent. You know, what's particularly exciting is as we continue to do work and different types of evaluation, how all the data is lining up between the structural work, soil work, and, you know, this is a perfect example, I think, of why we were all so excited to create White Gold in 2016. We're, you know, we basically tied up an entire camp with such a prolific history that's really seen such limited modern day exploration. And these are the types of potential that we have in front of us. It's unbelievable that plain block like this has never been drilled. You know, maybe just hiding in plain sight there. But this is why we all got involved, and our partners Agnico and Kinross are very excited to continue backing us to keep scratching the surface here, as you say, and, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll continue to have similar success as we've had in a last couple of years, and just very excited to get going here in 2021 between this project and some of our other, I think, most highly anticipated projects. I think we have a very exciting year up ahead of us. So thanks again, and anyone is interested in learning more, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you.